recorded so that anyone can watch after the fact, or you can share it with folks that, Liz, maybe if folks at the museum maybe want to check it out after the fact, they certainly can. All the information is here. And we'll also show you the page where the information is housed on WashingtonCountyGives.org from all of our past presentations. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Pin myself, share screen. Okay. Okay, there we go. Can everyone see that okay? All righty. Well, thanks for joining us. Now that I've hit the record button, this is our final of 4 virtual trainings. And Wally, thanks for being patient and coming to so many of these. This is a lot of the same information, but I knew some first timers were going to be joining us. So I made the fact to you to share some of your experiences in the past too, which are always great at sharing with folks. And for anyone else that's participated in the past years, we'd love to have your feedback. So as in past trainings, please feel free to type any questions you may have in the chat room, and we'll pause a few times for some Q&A, and can certainly have some discussion at the end if there are particular things that we're still a little shaky on or anything new that may have come to mind. So good afternoon. I am, for those who don't know me, Tim Luperspeck here at the Community Foundation. I'm Director of Marketing and Communications, and Tammy Brown is also my co-manager for the Washington County Gives project, and she is our office manager. And she has been, let's see, this will be her 5th Washington County Gives and my 3rd. So we've got a lot of information that we can share with you one-on-one as well as through these trainings, and we'll be there for the kickoff event, which we'll talk about later, and of course very active during the day of giving on May 10th. So this is our homepage right now. Of course, you're all familiar with that. You can view all of our participating organizations. Our prizes page, which we'll talk about later, is going to be populated by the end of today. So you'll be able to look at all the prizes that are available to win, all the different qualifying factors that are a part of them, how many random prizes you have to look forward to, and such. But that tab right there will also be useful on the day after Washington County Gives. So May 11th, that's where you'll see all of the winners for the individual categories. As a staff, we all get together early the next morning and go through those. And as we've probably promoted quite well throughout this, it's our 10th year of doing Washington County Gives, and that's coming off of a pretty unique past 2 years. I started here at the foundation in July of 2020, and that was when Washington County Gives, due to COVID striking right away, was moved from May to September of that year. And then we circled back and we're back on track to have that as the 2nd Tuesday of each May. And this is our 10th. A little snapshot of our growth that we've had with our first being in 2013. We had fundraised with, I can't remember how many participants. I looked the other day and I believe it was 56 initially for the very first one, at $167,425 that all those nonprofits raised, including the prizes, which are derived from sponsors and registration fees, up into 2021 last year. $567,760.75. And we were particularly proud that between 2020 and 2021, in that same fiscal year for us, it was over $1 million. So despite all the challenges that all nonprofits, including us, were experiencing during COVID, we were still able to pull off a pretty remarkable achievement for all of our participating nonprofits. This year, we have 91 participants, which is the most I've experienced us having. So we're anticipating growth. We would love to see it go over 600,000, which would be wonderful. And if not, to get close to how we were in 2019 and go back onto that trajectory would be wonderful. So a little bit about us and what that day on May 10th is going to look like. The Community Foundation team, we're on the road all day, May 10th. It's important to realize that because some folks may call, they may message a little bit. We're going to keep our eye on the digital email and our social media messages, but we're not going to be available for calls until we stop at about midday to catch up and check and see if anyone's been leaving us messages. But the past 2 times, it hasn't been too much of an issue. So we're going to be on the road. And the purpose of that is we really want to get out there into Washington County and interact with some of the organizations, head to a lot of maybe distinguishable places in Washington County, some recognizable places. We're going to incorporate some trivia. We want to make that day really fun for you to tune in and engaging. And we do that through our Facebook Live check-ins. So if you haven't already, of course, I'll send out links to everybody for our Facebook page. We're going to be going live there with some interactive trivia, including some prize drawings. And a lot of those are all just the random prizes that we have. You don't have to necessarily be tuned in to see them or to be a winner, just to have your name drawn randomly, and then you'll be notified with a tag or a message. But this year, we got a little extra sponsorship dollars, so we are going to be adding one or two smaller prizes to those Facebook Live check-ins for people that are there answering on the spot. Maybe a trivia, and the first person with that timestamp to answer is going to be the winner of that prize. So we'll have some help with the Community Foundation team to determine who those winners are. So upping the ante a little bit, giving more of a reason to tune in on Facebook, but also realizing that everybody just can't do that. I mean, you're working during this day too. So it's a nice perk for those that can, and if you can't, sorry, but we'll have a little bit more extra random drawings also throughout the day to supplement. So the chances are you're still going to win big, and you may not even know it until you take a break from your day-to-day operations on the 10th. We'll still be available by email, and the GiveGab customer support team is available 24 hours a day too. That little blue chat support bubble that you'll see in the corner, which will show a picture, they're going to be extra responsive. This year, I think their promise is that they'll respond and solve any kind of issues within about 2 to 3 minutes on the day of giving. So they're your most responsive route for any issues with logging in, or if you're having a question about a particular donation that's showing in your report, anything really under that gamut. So who is on the other end of that support? If you've tuned into our two of our previous trainings, our partnership is with GiveGab, and they are a national company that facilitates a lot of days like this. They approached us initially with Washington County Gives, and they have this concept where different nonprofits, different foundations, I've even seen some county businesses do these giving days, and we've kind of looked at what they're doing differently and how they're promoting it. But no matter what, it's one day where the community comes together to support these nonprofits. And it's 24-hour online giving, again on May 10th, through this single giving platform. All donations must be made online by your donors. In previous years, we've allowed some offline pledges to come through. You know, maybe a business has approached your organization and said that they would match the overall fundraising, and that's wonderful. Of course, that money will still come to you through them, but we want to make it clear that we can't report it on the website, so that that final report is all money that has been processed through the website already. Makes things a lot easier and faster, but it comes time to cutting those checks back to you, which of course is the most important part. Its biggest benefit really is to connect the donors to those charitable causes that they care about, and really encourages them to take action. And this capacity building tool that GiveGab utilizes, it provides customized trainings like the ones that you've seen and are available on our website still. Tools, trainings, templates like the background that Wally has there. Those are free downloads you can use. You can add little graphics to your email signature or your social media. They're all pre-built, which is especially nice to organizations that just don't have the time or the capacity to create these graphics themselves. And we'll show you exactly where on the page that is for anyone that hasn't found it yet. Crowdfunding and peer-to-peer fundraising, it's mixed with friendly competition. Of course, those leaderboards are always a nice appeal. We have some folks that always gun for that top spot. And then we have some folks that may surprise you a little bit too. You'll see all the organizations and how they stack up with paid organizations and volunteer-led organizations alike. So we really want to push some folks to, if you haven't already, log in and take a moment to add your organization's info, to add your story, your donation levels, of course not required, but some folks really do pinpoint the different levels and what that can mean. You know, maybe $10 gets them this level, $20 makes this much of a difference, $50 can fund this. Those donation levels are nice little options there. And of course, you can add a thank you message, which will automatically be sent to all of your donors. Your fundraisers, which are your peer-to-peer fundraisers, we'll talk a little bit later. We go into more depth with that with this 102 training. because it's not something that everybody does, but it does have its appeal. That's a screenshot of what you'll see when you're being prompted to complete your organization. Oh, sorry, I'm just seeing some messages here in the chat, Liz. Great. Okay, perfect. We could come out to our 3 museum. Yeah, let's connect, Liz, and we'll see what we can do for login. We're still finalizing where we're going to go throughout the day. Of course, we want to make it fair to other participants, but we'll look into what we can figure out, and maybe there's a site nearby. Okay. And this is another feature too. If you haven't done a thing with your profile, but you've been a participant in past years, you can log back in and click on the giving day. You'll see the message next to the giving day from the most recent year that you participated, and you can copy that profile over. So for some folks, that's a nice place to start. They'll copy something over, then they'll go back in and make any changes or updates for 2022. Right here at the top, you'll see the link, washingtoncountygives.org/info/training. And that's where you can go view all these trainings in particular. It's also available at the drop-down menu at the top of our website, but that's where you went to register for this event and where you can also view the slides and the recording of each of the previous. Just looking here. Great. Oh, very cool. Chris asks, "Is there a login password for GiveGab for Washington?" It's the same login that you have for WashingtonCountyGives.org, Chris. The login password for GiveGab for Washington County Gives. Nope. Yeah, it's all one and the same. GiveGab is just sort of the facilitator on the back end, so you should be all set. One and the same. All right, and here is Wally's time to shine. I always love how he completes his profile, and this is a good example of how the museum takes the donation levels and puts that into fruition. Wally, would you mind unmuting yourself for just a moment and maybe share some of the thinking that you have for this year? I know this is a good screenshot from last year's presentation, but for this year, are you implementing the same, or have you changed it up a little bit too? How does the donation level really help you?
Yeah, we have changed it a little bit, similar to what you have on the screen. I always like to diagnose all the numbers from last year and kind of look at the average gifts and what might stimulate people to give or give more. So, for example, our lowest gift this year is $100 to help support art classes. Last year, the 90th anniversary, I made it 180 this year. So 90 for the past, 90 for the future. So I kind of piggyback it, way to stimulate more giving. And then the upper levels are relatively the same with benefactors and also with an exhibition to be a sponsor of work of art, that kind of stuff. So I really get into the whole numbers of it. I just shared it all with our development committee this morning. They looked at it and said they were fine with it. I always tell people, why not, with the Association of Fundraising Professionals I belong to, people give more with credit cards. So sometimes we're shortcutting ourselves by asking for 20 or 25. Most people will give what they see, but you have that other button down there. Let them hit the other button if you want to give you $50. So, it's more stimulating to see what they want to do. So,
yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, don't feel like this has to tether you to those smaller donations. We find success with a lot of the $10 and $20, but you're right. I mean, if you point out what those $50 and $100 and even $500 can give folks, they'll be creative. And if they want to give, they'll give. All right. Thank you, Wally. So before I move on to Liz, you had asked if you could share your login for the trivia. The trivia challenges on the day of giving are going to be taking place on our Facebook page. So I'll make sure you have that link. And all somebody would have to do is just chime in and say they're representing that organization. So if it's someone else from the museum that happens to tune in, and you'll know the times, we'll send out a map of when those check-ins will be on our page, and we'll post that routinely. They can just simply go to our page and say, "Hey, I'm John Doe from the Rural Heritage Museum, and I'm here just to say I'm here, and here's the answer to that." So the first person that answers will verify that they're with the organization in some capacity, and that'll be their chance to win big. And we will definitely send you those times of all the check-ins of the trivia. The first one will be at 8 a.m. So that'll be the first check-in, usually about 5 or 6 throughout the day. I want to check in here, and feel free to put your hand up or chime in the chat as well. But I want to know what your biggest challenges this year seem to be. Liz, I know working with 2 organizations, is it a factor probably of all the above, short on staff or volunteers, maybe not necessarily lacking creativity due to a lack of being a creative individual, but, with it being your first time, maybe you're not sure where to start. Are you just tired of asking for donations? Yeah, volunteers, I'm sure, can be pretty tough with Rural Heritage Museum. Never tired of asking for money. Very true. Yeah, it can be tough to rally volunteers behind something like this. And I think the biggest way to overcome that challenge is to pump out this information. A lot of folks hear of what WashingtonCountyGives.org is, and especially if you send them a link to something like a training, it can be a little overwhelming for a volunteer. They're thinking, well, why do I need to know all of this back end information? But simply keeping it simple, that simple approach, just saying, hey, just help us spread the word that WashingtonCountyGives.org is on May 10th. We're a participant. All they have to do is just go there. They can type in rural heritage. They can even type in heritage. They can type in just museum and see all the participating museums. They can search by keyword, and they can find you and just make that simple donation. So, Liz, maybe encourage Rural Heritage Museum to post a graphic the day before and the day of, and then encourage those volunteers maybe through an email thread or a text thread and say, hey, we just posted this on the Rural Heritage Museum. Would you guys mind just sharing this today, and remind people that they have all the way up until midnight to get those donations? That could be a simple way to curb that. Wally, yep, you said you've got a chime in here. Whoop.
Are you there? I'm here now.
Sorry.
You kind of hit on it, Tim. We talked about it
Yep.
this morning, the role of what volunteers and people, because what we focus on is we send out all the emails like organizations do. We post things on Facebook. To make it successful, people need to take that message and forward it to their friends and ask to support. Because the number one reason why most people give is because they give of a friend. They give, it's friendships. And so, our board, we ask our board, don't just read our emails and make assumptions everybody else is doing this. Send it to your friends, and especially those who live outside the region. We have friends all over the country. We explain them there's no reason, even if you're in Italy, you can use your phone and contribute. So, but it's a matter of the people to people, kind of like the peer-to-peer stuff, but take all the information, take all of our marketing, and make sure you're sharing it and ask people to give. And don't just read it, give, and delete it, and don't do anything with it. We need to have more bodies. And that really came up with our development committee and our volunteers to stress that the only way we get more money is we get more donations, which means more donors. So that's our biggest challenge, is getting everybody else bought in, and not just the museum staff sending stuff out. You need everybody to be on board. So you kind of hit a lot of that. So
yeah, that's really true. And Liz, that's a good point too, that you mentioned that not a lot of board members have Facebook. And what I did prior to my time with the Community Foundation, I was president for a few years of Children in Need in Washington County. And similar to that, I think we had a twofold challenges that we were dealing with a lot of clients who may not have easy access to internet or technology to help spread the word. And a lot of the board and donors were folks that weren't quite connected to social media either. So she being Ann Martin, who's also a participant for this year, what they do is they do mailers routinely throughout the year, but they threw in sort of a little, yellow sliced paper that said, save the date, visit WashingtonCountyGives.org. Now, unfortunately, if they can't make it to WashingtonCountyGives.org, we can't help them quite with that. But that'll at least be a reminder that's outside of Facebook that could do it. Or if you have an email database, maybe visitors to the museum, you could utilize that. Consider using a mass email service. There's ConstantContact.com, which gives a nice free free template for if you have up to a certain amount of contacts that you import into them. That could be a free way to do it too. Yeah, I know some people are so hesitant to share emails some days, but sometimes if you have like a logbook, maybe there's an email list that you hadn't been thinking of, or people may have stashed somewhere, never quite know. So that could always help with that too. Yeah, constant contact is such a big help, and it really is. It's free to use even on a trial basis if you have a large database, but it is free up to a certain amount of contacts. Really does help with automation and scheduling those email posts. Chrissy had a good comment here too. Consistent and exciting social media posts and scheduling them ahead of time. Gosh, that really does help alleviate so much stress on the day. You know, we block off our day for Washington County Gives, but you guys are working, and you never know what could come your way, especially at an organization like Girls Inc. You could have the biggest, firestorm happening on your day that you thought was going to be nice and set aside for promoting for Washington County Gives. But using that business suite on Facebook can really help, even if it's just text, even if you don't have the time to utilize a graphic. You could simply schedule a post that says, don't forget, guys, we have 5 more hours, 2 more hours, things like that. And each profile that you'll have when you're in there logging in and playing around, you do have your own link to your page. So you don't always have to tell people to go to WashingtonCountyGives.org to search your organization. If you want to schedule a post that has that direct link, do so. And I can always help you find it. We sign up as a participant, even though we're not participating that day, but we can see what it looks like for you, the participant, and guide you towards that. So that's good, and we'll move on here, and we got a couple more breaks for some Q&A too. So I'll go ahead and move along with some social media. We were just talking about that, of course, and you're gonna use it. If you have a Facebook, you're gonna use it. Oh, Chris has a nice background there. Looks very nice. That was quick. So yeah, social media. We all know that it's king, and we've been forced to adapt, especially with COVID shutdowns. Some places like museums really had to rely on the power of social media to connect with donors and visitors and just appreciators of what you're presenting. At the Arts Council across the street, at the Museum of Fine Arts, at the Rural Heritage Museum, I'm sure you've delved into those. Wally, did you put the hand up just now, or was that from before?
It must have been from before, and okay. Maybe. Do I click and take it off? Lower hand, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was just making sure. I'm sorry, I keep hitting your unmute button. Listen, we're 2 years into Zoom. You would think I would get this by now, but I'm clicking around like a madman. Let me just take my finger off the mouse. Let's see here. So with social media, with the backgrounds that Wally and Chris have, you can find those with our free toolkit on Washington County Gives. GiveGab creates these. And then, of course, you can see how you can put your own spin on it. You can add your own logo, text over top. But you can find that by clicking on the menu in the top right corner of WashingtonCountyGives.org. And then scroll down there where the nonprofit toolkit is. You'll be able to click on that. And there are social media tips and tricks. There's sample emails that you can just copy and paste right into whatever database you have and send it out. And then the graphics and downloads, that's where you can really click and hit on that. And I'm going to see if this will pop up. Oh, I just see we have Andrew Lay joining in here from Highland View Academy. So here is our website. Let me just do a new share. And here it is. So this is what that page will look like. Can you guys see the downloads page? Yep. You just scroll down through here, and here's where the logo is, with the pen in the middle here. And you can download it in a PNG, so all you have to do is just click that, and it'll be able to be saved. You can right-click, save it, however you'd like. There's also little social media backgrounds that you could change your cover photo to on social media, sized for Facebook, for Twitter, for email. All that stuff's right there. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, there's the Zoom backgrounds. As I mentioned, Chris and Wally have. There's one that looks like kind of a step and repeat that you could use. You could use this for maybe your next board meeting to get your members excited if you're using Zoom still. Those tools are there for you if you like them. Social shares, they kind of automatically create these, and you'll see some have the check presentation photos. I think, Chris, you and I are in one of these, but not too sure. So, if you're not included in that, it may not benefit you to use that montage. You could simply share one that has a picture of our staff here, but the most popular is that one that looks out there on High Rock that just says simply, join us May 10th, 2022 from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Those are sized for your Instagram story. So it's that nice vertical graphic or the standard posts here. There's also these nice little badges that you can give for PNG, JPEG. You can add it to your cover photo, your profile photo on Facebook, or add it to the signature of your email for that day. There's a couple different ways that you could use a graphic like that. And then the GIF. Some say GIFs, I say GIF still, but you could download that if you want to add a little motion. If you're familiar with that, some people that's beyond them, but that's fine. You could download it. You can add it to your email, just as you would a JPEG or your website or different template. So those are there for you if you want to use them. There's also some printables. If you scroll down a little farther, there's a thank you card. There's a I give because. I've seen some organizations print out a bunch of these and ask their staff or their donors to maybe write down a reason and then hang them in the office, maybe a week or so leading up to it, which helps generate a little bit of a buzz. And then here's another flyer that you can always print out. Oh, there's Chrissy. I see it right there at the bottom. I knew you were in there. You can download those and hang them up in your office or share them on social media too. Don't we all like looking at photos of ourselves? Okay, I'm going to switch my share back to the PowerPoint. Okay. One thing I like to hit on a lot, Facebook events, most in-person events all have a Facebook event associated with them, and we're probably all familiar with creating those for our organization. But on the giving day, a mistake that I noticed even as a participant prior to my time with the Community Foundation is that a lot of organizations will say things like, Girls Inc. Day of, or they'll say Day of Giving as the Facebook event name. But I really want to encourage you to make it specific to your organization. So call it Girls Inc. Day of Giving or Give Back to Girls Inc. on May 10th. Something that's a little bit different, because what you'll find is that they all start to blur together, and it makes it difficult for people to find your event if it's titled just like everybody else's, if that makes sense. So it seems kind of like common sense when you think about it, but I notice a lot of organizations will do that, and I'll try and look for maybe our event name, and it'll come up with a bunch of different other organizations too. So I think you'll do yourself a bigger service if you give yourself a nice specific name if you're making a Facebook event, and I do recommend doing that. You can invite all of your friends, family, and set those times to start midnight to midnight so that, around 11:30 p.m., if they're still up on Facebook, they'll see a pop-up notification saying, hey, this event's going to start soon. And then throughout the day, you can post within that Facebook event and remind donors when it's time to donate. Some other ideas and tips that I've seen work well on social media are some giveaways. I was chatting with Robin Sumner at the Historical Society, and she's going to be doing a giveaway throughout the day for donors that if they donate within certain hours, which we'll talk about later, our power hours, they're automatically entered to win a piece of art. They've come across a nice little collection of some, I think, small prints of different artwork that they had submitted, or maybe a board member had helped facilitate for them. But they're going to be doing some giveaways that are relevant to their organization throughout that day. I've seen others do, I'll go back to Children in Need. When I was president of that organization, we had actually won the most improved prize because we were struggling to kind of get some folks to engage, and our fundraising was pretty minimal a few years in a row. And the board had an idea to do a lunch bunch. So what that was is if you donated at least $20, you got a raffle ticket that was entered into a basket drawing to win 3 different bunches of gift cards to local restaurants, $10 for each restaurant, and I think each basket had 10 gift cards. It was pretty substantial, and because of that, we saw such a big spike in overall donations. So you still have time, if you haven't thought of one, to think of, maybe a couple of neat ideas to do some giveaways. Got some free things, even t-shirts, even like a Girls Inc. t-shirt, or a basket of some, stuff you may have laying around with your tchotchkes. Think about maybe putting that together, taking a picture of it and posting it on Facebook and saying, hey guys, if you donate today at least $30, you have a chance to have your name entered in this. You'll have your name entered in this drawing to have a chance to win that. Different little fun ideas like that could really make the difference. Images, post images to show the power of a donation. People love to see kids and pets and art and so many things that your organization does and sees every day that may start to kind of blur together for you because you see it every day. But when you step outside of yourself and take a picture and show that visual medium on your Facebook page or any social media page or email, website, really push towards that, it's going to help. Share testimonials from benefactors, people that really reap the rewards of what your organization does. I think sharing those testimonials can also be a nice tip to push towards a donation. $10 may not seem like a lot to somebody making a donation on the website, but when you look at it from the perspective of someone that really does benefit from your organization, it could be that extra push. Regular countdowns, Chrissy was talking about this too, focusing on those really engaging posts on Facebook. We are now, we're within a month out there. So if you start posting those countdowns, I think you'll be in a good position. Utilize the scheduling, like we talked about on Business Suite. Really focus on scheduling those posts ahead of time. It'll really take a lot of pressure off of you. Tell a story. Donors really give because they're given that emotional incentive to do so. So feel free to share those stories. Maybe ask someone you've had some experience with if you could take a little video clip of them saying, hey, could you tell us about how you really benefited from this organization? Or even somebody from your organization talking about maybe last year's Washington County Gives. Tell those stories. Don't be scared to pull a few heartstrings. Really brag it up. Talk about yourself. And I think in the nonprofit community, we are so used to not talking about ourselves that you can really do yourself a disservice. I think if you talk about yourself and some of the achievements, that may help another organization really find you and connect with why they should give. Sorry, I was just reaching over towards my power charger. Let's see here. Just look in the chat. Yeah, event tickets. Yeah, exactly. If you have an event coming up, like a bonanza or something like that, you can give away those event tickets through that day too, and have folks really enter to win. Videos, we always talk about visual medium. I think especially videos are king. You want to show that too. So images are great, but if you have a chance, grab your phone, take a little video of something like that. And if there's a flurry of activity at most of your organizations, you could be able to show off. Also, Facebook Live and Instagram Live. We use a lot of that, like I was talking about with giveaways through some of our check-ins. It can be a little intimidating, and you can feel like sometimes that you're a little shy with it, but prop it up and say hello to your friends and followers that are tuning in on that day. Barbara Ingram does a great job at that, where I think last year they had a concert on the square with some of their students that was timed with what they were hoping to win as their power hour, which again, we'll talk about with some of the prizes. They showed a little free concert on Facebook, and it was great. And then the caption simply said, hey, don't forget, give to us today at WashingtonCountyGives.org. Start educating your donors about what you do through a lot of these free social media venues, and start doing it now. I want to talk a little bit about the board. We talked about this during 101 too, but with some of the new participants, this could bring up some new points. How is your board feeling about Washington County Gives? Make sure, do they know that you're participating? Are they talking to their friends and family and followers about Washington County Gives and how people that want to support them can support the organization on May 10th? It's been proven, I think, through a lot of different ways and some of the different prizes we've offered, that organizations with an engaged board raise 2 to 3 times more dollars on their giving day than those without. And again, firsthand, I know it was a lot more effective with the boards that I've worked with over the years, that when we're on the same page, it really can drive that organization to success. Attend some of these plan meetings and these trainings and the kickoff event on May 3rd, which we'll talk about a little bit later too. Really have everybody kind of get on board for that. And, they become an ambassador for you on that day. They understand what some of the matching and potential prizes are. The prize sheet will be out tomorrow, which we'll talk about. Send it to your board and let them see kind of what potential there really is to win, even just by being a participant and maybe getting a free random prize or winning that power hour. And consider sharing this training with them too. Hi to any board members watching after the fact. Send them this link and let them really see how engaged and dynamic this day can become for them. And see how they can spread the word about. Oh, I'm sorry, change that day here for May 10th, Giving Day. Ask them how they can help spread the word, what they're willing to do. Can they share those posts on that day? Can they share those emails? So this is always a good point I like to bring up too. Some organizations join Washington County Gives and they're all volunteers, and maybe their expectations are a little higher than it should be. Should there be different expectations for yourself and for when it comes to accountability with your board on Washington County Gives Day? And I think the answer is yes. I think you really have to be realistic with your goals too. And that's why we do stack the registration fees the way that we do. It's only $65 for organizations with volunteer staff and $300 for organizations with paid staff. And I think there's a reason for that. We've got some folks that simply, they may sign up because they've heard about it, and then when it comes down to it, they are just too burdened with everything they have to do, whether it be a youth athletics organization or maybe it's an animal advocacy organization that really came into a situation that's demanding a lot of their time. Even Red Cross, the American Red Cross, even though they are an organization with paid staff, there was a year, I believe it was 2 years ago, where there was a big fire out by Robinwood the night or the day before. And then so all their resources on the Giving Day were just diverted directly towards that. And so that became their focus. And, they didn't raise as many funds as they had hoped. So, you have to be realistic with what your expectations are too. It's great to set the bar high, but, know that you can be giving yourself a little grace with that. We all certainly realize, and that's when it's really nice to see a lot of these volunteer organizations that, maybe aren't putting a lot of into it because they can't, when they really take home a lot of prizes through the random drawings. So fingers crossed for everyone that's participating. But, don't get discouraged because there could be some good wins in your future still. Of course, be sure to say thank you. We all know how that feels to donate and not even get an email or a little thank you when you see that person in person. As a participant, you'll be able to download your donor report. And so all the contact information, unless they specify that they want to remain super anonymous, you'll have that information to at least send them an email or ask your board maybe to team up and write some handwritten notes to pop into the mail. That'll really make a difference, I think, with the engagement and the return donors that you could gain by participating in this organization. And really step back and look and think about what could have been done better or differently for the future. Some of the peer-to-peer fundraising. Has anyone that's participating, has anyone done the peer-to-peer fundraising feature? Wally's nodding. I think Cedar Ridge was a part of a past training this year, and they said that they really enjoyed it, using it. But essentially what that is a volunteer or a staff member or a board member can use this feature. Yeah, I didn't either. This isn't what peer-to-peer fundraising is. So peer-to-peer is a loose term. Peer-to-peer can be something like, remember when the illegal music downloading like Napster and LimeWire was? That was when the term was really coined with peer-to-peer. And that was the sharing of files. So a very literal definition of what peer-to-peer meant. So when you take that concept and apply it to peer-to-peer fundraising, Chris, that could be you simply signing up as an individual fundraiser through WashingtonCountyGives.org for the museum or for the Art Society. And on that day, you're acting like a fundraiser for that organization. And you can do that by visiting the page that you've already created for the Arts Council and signing up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser. And then on that day, it would be a link that you would have. So it would almost be like making your own page, the Chris Brewer page that raises funds for the Washington County Arts Council that you could then share on Facebook or email. And then it'll give you you could set a goal of a couple $100, things like that. Could even be as low as $50, I think is the minimum that you can set as a goal. And then it'll show progress throughout the day. So it's something you can ask your supporters to do, your board members to do, your volunteers. Play around with it and see, if you could. It's designed to expand your reach to a new network of potential donors, similar to on Facebook, how you can raise money on your birthday for an organization, things like that is the model that they're folding that into. It really provides a new opportunity to engage with existing supporters too. It shares their personal connections. So folks can write a story as to why they're fundraising for that organization. It establishes more vested interest in your organization through that active supporter participation. That will also increase that donor base too. You'll be able to cast the net a little wider, possibly. It highlights your existing connections with passionate supporters, making donors confident in your cause, because again, it's sharing your message and your mission statement of that organization. And it can also be fun too. It can also create an opportunity for friendly competition amongst different board members or volunteers saying, hey, here at the foundation, Tim's going to make a fundraising page for the Community Foundation or Hagerstown Hopes, one of these organizations, Girls Inc., and we'll see who can get best. Lots of different options, but again, it's not required. It's just something extra that may be able to push you a little over the hump. And through that also, you can create those fundraisers for success. You can make a little quick guide for everything that donor may need to know about that organization. It'll also generate some social media links and email templates, a lot of what also is given to the organization when they sign up to participate. You can check in with them on before. You can kind of post get that scheduled post ahead of time for the peer-to-peer fundraising. It encourages people to share their personal stories. And again, that friendly competition between your fundraisers is a good option. So if you're interested, log in and play around with it. There are some great support articles on the website too about that I can send you links to. If you want to try it out for this year, I recommend it maybe. But we have had some organizations that I've seen do it, and it's pretty neat. I think last year, the Authentic Community Theater team all had a little competition amongst themselves to see who could raise the most money, and then they awarded themselves, a little gift card or something, which was pretty cool to see. So a couple little steps before we wrap up. What's next? Make sure you're visiting that nonprofit toolkit if you haven't already. And if you have any questions with the graphic downloading, let me know. On all the posts that you're making leading up to it, try and remember to use that Washington County Gives hashtag. That'll make it easier to find your posts and we can share it, which of course will help during that day. Send us a little picture of what your team's doing that day maybe, and we'll just share it throughout the day too, which will also help get more donations to you. Reach out to us. Tammy and myself are here to help. But again, that blue support chat bubble, especially on that day, all the way up through midnight, they'll be the folks with GiveGab that'll be able to help you with any technical issues that you have or questions. So utilize that. Of course, we'll be available through email that day again. We get a lot of questions asking about when they're going to get the money. All the donations, once we get that money back, will be dispersed no later than June 30th via check. And so when they're ready, probably sooner rather than on the later end of that, we'll be giving options to pick it up or drop it across the street. We'll get a photo op, and we can also just simply pop it in the mail for you too. Here is a little snapshot of what your donor report will look like. But it's the same as all past years. You'll be able to, specify that view. If you want to look at particular timestamps of when donors have made their donations, you can see their name, their intended donation, whether they covered the fees, etc. Oh, this picture, I've tried to add Ryan Smetzer's photo to this a few times today, and for some reason it's not displaying. But Ryan Smetzer is going to be joining us Tuesday, May 3rd. If you haven't already, make sure you register for a kickoff event. It's also, you can find the link in your email. I'll email it to you individually after this training if you haven't. And we're coming through people that haven't just to make sure that they've got the registration link. But you can also find it at WashingtonCountyGives.org on that top menu at the top right corner. You can drop it down and you can find kickoff event. Click on that, register. It's free. If you're working, it can be somebody representing your organization, whether that be a spouse or a friend or a board member or a volunteer. Anyone you have, we ask that no more than 2 people per organization, please, because we're giving away some breakfast and some free giveaways. But we are going to be giving away prizes already at that day. I think we've got a fair amount. We're adding a little bit more last minute. We got a last minute sponsor that came through, but it's going to be a lot of good random prizes, $500, $1,000, even $100 throughout that entire morning, starting at 8 a.m. at Hagerstown City Park. And if we have inclement weather coming through, we'll communicate a plan. Thanks to Wally as a little backup for us. But expect to be able to grab a cup of coffee or a donut, muffin, hang with us. We'll have some music, and it's designed to really get you excited for that week leading up to May 10th. And we're thrilled to be having it in person at a place where people can space out. It's going to be at the main pavilion. If you're familiar with Hagerstown City Park, we'll send a map to you upon registering. Lots of street parking, parking lot right there off of Virginia Avenue. And of course, you'll be able to hear us as you're approaching. We wanted to give a nice little plug to the sponsors that we have so far this year. Again, all this sponsor prize money comes directly from, or the prize money and the matching money comes directly from our sponsor dollars. This year, we've got AT&T, the John R. Hershey and Anna L. Hershey Family Foundation, Volvo, Pauline Anderson Foundation, the God's Grace Fund, Matthias Trust, the Nora Roberts Foundation, Hamilton Family Foundation, First Energy Foundation, CNB Bank, Copy Quick, Jameson Door, Hagerstown Honda, Patriot Federal Credit Union, Younger Auto Group, Blue Ridge Partners, and Twig Cycles. And again, that prize sheet's going to come out tomorrow. As you come through it, if you have any questions, there's some prizes like a board blitz, which may be a little bit more complex, but the goal of that is to get all of your board to donate at least $10. And we've got a lot of random prizes. We have even more this year, which is great. We keep adding more and more, which is a good thing because we think it's the most fair and balanced way to get people just prizes just for being a participant, which is great. So I want to open it up. I know we're, within that 10-minute range of the hour, but does anyone have any questions that I can answer while we're here? Is the green on the donation able to be changed? You mean on your individual profile page, Chrissy? I think it can be. That's a good question, though. I know we given that template overall to match our branding with the green, but I think it can be. I've seen some that have had it change. So I will. I want to make a note here and play around with that and see, because it would be nice to add it to like that red that the Girls Inc. use. I'll look into that. Liz, all right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely get back to you here on that and see about where we're going to plan our live check-ins throughout that day. But either way, I'd love to stop in and see that. That sounds great. The Rural Heritage Museum has 3 indoor museums and 7 acres of that. Yeah.
Tim, is there a deadline to have the website ready? I keep thinking in the past we had to have a date that we couldn't change it. I was wondering about that.
It used to be, but they opened it up to anytime. So you can even make a change even on that morning, that day, if you'd like to. But we're telling people to at least have it ready by May 3rd, just because on that day at the kickoff event, we really want to push people to go start looking at the organizations. And that's when a lot of our radio campaigns are pushing people to that website to start looking at the organization. So, as people are hearing about it on the radio or seeing some of the billboards that we've purchased, we want to make sure that your page is in ship shape to be checked out by some of these potential donors. So no, there's no hard and fast date for that. You'll be able to make changes even up until the last minute. And we do have a lot of neat things this year. We're doing a lot of retargeting ad campaigns. We've got one of the digital billboards that's live right now on 40, kind of right across from the Kia dealership. If you're heading from Boonesboro into Hagerstown, you'll see that on your left. We've got the Eastern Boulevard billboard going live next week. We've got spots on Alpha Media, Manning Media, and we do a lot of that because we want people just to learn about this cause. And so we really hope that the outcome of that are some new donors that come to you and spend money supporting your causes and your organizations. So with that, again, there's my email. I'm sure everybody has that, and Tammy's email. And if it helps to hop on a phone call after the fact to go over any little questions, especially if you try out the peer-to-peer fundraising, Chris, just let me know, and we can get you guys squared away. So thank you all. And again, this is being recorded, so we'll make sure I post that this afternoon. If we want to go back and rewatch anything, I'll share these slides and upload those too. And make sure, if you haven't already, register for the kickoff event. I believe everybody here is, but take a moment and do so. And if you have trouble finding that link, I'll send it out to you. And we will see you guys then, and look for the prize sheet coming out tomorrow.
Thanks, Tim.
You bet.
Thank
Talk to you guys later. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.